Hey, ladies. Hey, welcome back to Rooted in Your Confidence. You already know this podcast is for women who are out there doing hard, brave things, staying in careers and industries that weren't designed for us. We talk about what it really takes to not survive, but to stay and thrive and lead with confidence in environments where our voices are often the minority. And today, I got a guest whose story speaks exactly to that. Julia Vanderwick is a designer, a web developer based in San Cruz, California. She began her career in commercial printing and photo retouching before stepping into entrepreneurship and founding the Web Atrium. Over the years, she's been in industries. She's seen industries shift from analog to digital, and she has had to navigate the different expectations placed on men and women along the way. Her journey is one of holding her ground against presumptions, carving her own path, and reminding women that they are never truly alone in these spaces. Julia, I'm excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for coming on, being here. You and I met in a group. I forget exactly which one, but we did meet in a group and we've connected ever since. And I've said a lot of things about you. So you can tell the world more about you than I can. I might have given them a tidbit. So tell us something about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, so I started out in fine art. I have an art degree in painting and printmaking, and that's what got me into the commercial printing business. And then I went through photo retouching with a brush and dye.
Yeah.
So I'm making this hand movement right here. And then we saw the shift to digital processes. And so I took that time not just to learn digital restoration of photographs, but also to become self-taught in all the digital tools for graphic design and website making. It was pretty bit different back then, but what I've learned over the year is that whether or not I think that I am a tech person, coming from fine arts and super outdated technologies, right? What I learned is that if I am interested in something and motivated to learn it, then I can learn it. And I will spend the time and effort. And, I never thought I would be going to bed with computer books.
I can just imagine that the world has changed so much. And it's just an amazing thing that we're able to get in on it and understand that the things that you're doing is amazing. Like you said, you've seen the shift, you've been part of the shift, you are the shift right now. And to see it, how does it actually feel?
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting when I think about it. I was working at the photo lab in the traditional retouching at the print finishing at the very end of the line. You do the retouching and all that stuff. And we would keep an eye on the digital prints coming through, and we saw that it started getting better at a higher rate. So that's when I started expanding my skill set there. And then when it happened, suddenly overnight, all these departments were just gone. The workflow was completely different. Now the retouching happens at the beginning, and there's no film to process. So no film department. Like it was really mind blowing like, to watch that happen like around me.
I, I can
So
imagine that shift in seeing hundreds of people, because I'm going to say it was hundreds, because I remember having a digital camera when I was coming along with the film and taking it to, well, I remember taking it to the drugstore. That was me as an adult, and watching them print it or see it come through the back with the of CVS or in the back where they were shooting the pictures out. So just to imagine how many jobs were lost during that time and to see how it's progressed where we can now see things on the computer without even we can print at home because we can do so much retouching and things like that at
right,
this point. I think that's amazing. I do.
right.
I really, really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some specialized jobs were lost, but others just changed. And there were people like me who just started working in a different department, right? And did the same thing, but in a different way.
Wow.
But then it was not too long after that when I got a wild hair and I did my first triathlon,
Okay, come on now for the
which was
triathlon.
nothing. Yeah, like I didn't think I would ever do anything like that. And there I did, And I remember collecting my things afterwards and thinking, well, I did that. Maybe I can start my own business too.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing. Made you do the triathlon? I was getting ready to go into something else and ask you so many other questions, but a triathlon, how, what, when, what made you do it?
Well, I think I was looking for a challenge and I was feeling restless and I didn't know what change I needed to make in my own life. And so I started taking hiking classes with the local university. And I always needed to be in the front, like trying to win or whatever. And then I signed up, there are the organizations where you fundraise for cancer research and then they train you to do endurance events and stuff like that. So I got a friend to sign up with me.
Beautiful.
And I chose triathlon because I can't ever pick one thing. Like, okay, I'm going to do sports. Well, it's not just going to be a mono sport. It's going to be the one with three different things in there.
That just that and alone is an amazing thing for you to just to be able to tap into so many things and to complete them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm by no means a natural athlete or anything like that. I just really wanted to. And, with endurance sports, what I would tell people is, well, really all you have to do is just keep going.
I think that's what it
And
is.
it's true that a lot of them I would finish and go straight to the medical tent.
You would go
It isn't,
you would go to the medical tent.
yeah, because I was beyond done, you know. My body, I had asked too much of my body. But aside from that, it was a huge challenge that I never thought myself capable of doing, but I did. And I continued to do it. And I chose harder and harder ones, even though, like I'm not born to run. I'm not.
I think anything that we like or love in this world or want to try, it's what we're willing to do to get there. Before
Right.
or even before we got on, we were talking about business and what are you willing to do to reach your goals? And for you, it's what you're willing to do for that challenge to get to the other side. So I love that you said that out loud. Like, hey, I was willing to do this to challenge myself, to make sure that I'm seen. So many people don't. They shrink and they hide from being seen and being heard. And for you to put yourself out there no matter what, because it's a challenge. I got it. I'm going to be in the
Yeah.
front. That is a win, because especially women, we don't normally do that. We wait for the challenge to come to us. We don't
Right.
we don't run after it. We don't go for it. But you did that, and that's a big win in
Yeah.
itself, you know.
But it took me a long time. I'm glad you phrased it that way because for the longest time I was waiting for my life to happen around me.
Yeah,
And like, why is this, that, and the other thing not going on? And I didn't even realize that I can decide.
that's it.
I can decide to make a change, and things don't have to be the worst to make a change. I don't have to be forced into something. I can decide to do something differently.
Yeah, and that in itself is a win when you decide for yourself that you don't have to wait, and you didn't wait. You stepped into it. You stepped into digital, from digital into what do we call this new stuff? You're computers. I'm just going with this a little bit here. We went from
Well,
digital.
first I stepped from analog brush using
Yes,
to digital Photoshop using, right? And that was a completely different thing for me to learn. Same skill, different skill, right?
I get it.
And that was a completely, like uh, and then, that was 1999. So the computer I had was a computer my friend built me out of spare parts. And so the way that technology was back then, I learned very quickly how to rebuild it and how to reinstall it over and over again, right? Because that's what we had to do to keep the things running.
No, that's excellent. So, how many women
Yeah,
do you think did what you were doing back then in 1990s?
I think a lot more than we presume,
Really?
frankly, because I was one of them and I was not the first. And so that was, yeah, that was expanding my horizons in a way that I hadn't thought I was capable of before. And then I waited until I was kind of bursting at the seams again. And that's when adrenaline told me to do more sports, which was also another thing. I was raised in the arts and music. Like, we will play in the band, but we're not out there on the field necessarily. But I became a participant for a good 10 years. And then that experience helped me to realize that the scariest thing I could think of would be to put myself out there as a entrepreneur outside of being an employee. And probably I should have done more research and maybe gotten a loan while I still had good credit, you know? But what I did was I just jumped into the deep end once I decided, and I quit my job, my full-time job, and they still gave me some work remotely, actually.
Okay.
But it was not full time anymore. And I sent out an email to everybody in my address book and said, okay, here are the 7 professional services that I can offer now. And I got 3 clients from that.
Wow. That is a win.
And that was the beginning of my self-employment.
I love that. Yeah.
And that was 2004.
Okay.
A bunch of stuff happened in the world pretty soon after that.
The world
And it
changed.
became very hard. Yeah. And so, you know, I had started my business without really knowing what it meant to start a business. And luckily in my community, there are those networking groups that we all have come into contact with. And the one I found and joined was one where you had one person from every industry. And in each meeting, somebody would give a presentation on some aspect of their work, and then we would pass around referrals to each other. And sometimes we would simply work together. You know, if I don't have a referral of somebody else for somebody, but they might be able to help me, and then we could either hire each other or trade or something like that. But in that group, I learned my basic business skills. You know, like the bookkeeper came in and helped me learn how to set up my bookkeeping.
Okay.
Because I knew how to balance a checkbook, and we still had checkbooks.
Back then, right?
Back then in the olden days, we wrote checks on paper and it was money.
You're right about that. Now it's everything
So,
digital.
yeah.
Excuse me,
So,
electronical.
right. So I learned how to do that. I learned public speaking because we were giving presentations to each other, and sales techniques because we're talking about what we do and everything. And it was a great start, but it was, you know, it was hard. It was a hard time to start a business. So there were plenty of times when I would say, I'm just going to get a part-time job or whatever. And a lot of those businesses that I have applied to are no longer in existence.
But you're still here. And
But I'm still here.
you're still here, and you said it was hard. But was it hard or was it challenging?
Well, both. Because for me, the scariest thing is outreach, and here is really what I had in mind that I wanted to bring up is, as a self-employed woman in a tech field, my main offering is website design and development. And that was, you know, especially at that time, people were using the word webmaster and saying, oh, I have a guy who does this. I have a guy, you know. And then I would show up and say, I do these things. And I think that I have had over the years to really learn how to sit at the table with that and not like qualify everything that I'm saying.
That I love that you have processed that and you see that, because that's what we forget, to stop trying to quantify and qualify everything that we say at the table as if we have to prove that we're there. What was that shift for you like when you decided that you no longer wanted to do that?
Well, it's been ongoing over the years. After around 2009, I started working with a male business partner. And so we were now a 2-person team. We could take on like a different level of client. And I saw how he was approaching our business meetings, like with a new client, you know, and they would be like, we need this expertise and that expertise. And he would just sit there like, of course we can do that. Or no, that's out of scope or whatever. And he didn't question himself. And that came through. No one questioned him. And I would sit there going, I don't know, but I can learn. You know, like, if you let me, please hire me.
I'm laughing because it's so true. I mean, we as women get so nervous and are like, oh my God, do you think they'll like me? Do you think they'll want to see? We don't know how to just stand and be
Yeah.
present in what we're doing. So we're just showing up as we are, qualified.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had many experiences either as an employee or in the self-employed space where a question is asked, I'll answer it, and then they'll ask the question again. A male colleague will give the exact same answer, and they'll say, like, a man has to qualify everything I say, and then they'll take me seriously, you know? And if, so I've come to see, though, that a lot of those experiences have been building on my inner insecurity. Like, if I doubt myself, it's going to come through whether I think I'm projecting that or not. And so the more I can work on just sitting at the table because it's my table.
Come on now. Talk about it. It's yours.
It's a new skill for me. I'm working on it. But I see it now, and I understand that what I feel inside does get projected a little bit. And if I don't want people to lowball me, or if I want the respect and presumption of expertise that I would give anybody who shows up and says they're expert in a field, if I want that for myself, then I need to give that to myself as well.
Yes, it's funny you're talking about this. I was just on LinkedIn Live and I was talking about this. It was like our brains are connected right here. And that's what we as women do. We don't show up proud. I made a framework for it just to let you know. But we don't show up. I'm so excited right now because you brought this up and I have this message for women, and you did it. You tapped into yourself. You owned where you were and you stopped trying to convince everyone. And that's what women do. But when we stand, be proud of who we are. We prepare our message, because to me, I like being prepared, and being prepared is part of it. And when you root yourself in your value, because these are all the things that you've said.
Right.
You
I'm just trying to describe the name of your podcast right now.
You know what I mean? You rooted yourself in your values. You owned it. You owned what you were delivering. That's craziness. And you understood your environment that you were in. You understood that the men were going to lean towards the other men, but you still stood in it. You owned it. So that in itself, so you walked in prepared. You were rooted yourself in that. You knew what it was. You owned it and the way you delivered it. You understood it. And then you decided to take charge of it. So you did that without saying making a framework, but you did it. That is exciting.
Well, it's a process. I'm still doing it.
Right. No, but the fact that you did it and you're still doing it,
yeah,
and decided to do it, I call those wins. Those are the soft wins that we realize when we look back, like, how far have we come? How far have I veered straight instead of to the left because I took the time to get to know me? It sounds like you took the time to get to know you in this process. And what did that look like?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, I'm pretty good at introspection. I like journaling and that kind of thing. So there's that.
Okay.
But I look around and I see my colleagues, and we're a diverse group. It's not just the stereotypes of what you think. Web developers, lots, right? There's lots of different kinds of us, as usual. And I notice, I just kind of, I started noticing how everybody presented themselves and what they said about themselves. And I think that for a while, I was probably hiding behind the confidence of my business partner a little bit, because he had confidence I didn't. I could just kind of come along in some ways. But he retired a few years ago. And so when that happened, I had this whole process inside myself of redeveloping what my business is and thinking about my core offerings. Are they the same? Are they different? My core clients, are they the same? Are they different? How am I going to rebrand and rebroadcast what I bring to people to help them with their websites? That's really the core. I help you with your website.
No, that's big.
And there's lots of different ways that can show up and everything. But, I can talk about the high level stuff like design and navigation, and I can talk tech. And we can talk about how things function and all that coding framework and stuff. And the more I talk about something that I'm excited about, the more energy I put in there, tapping into my own fields of expertise and amplifying that has helped me kind of step into my own and bring the current iteration of my company, which I'm, and so amplifying the core offering, which is my own skills, with the value that I know I bring after having all these years of experience.
That when you say that bring all your years of experience, that value that you bring, what's the most valuable thing that you bring to you that you can define? Let me say it that you define.
So I talk about the favorite part of my job is creative solutioneering. That's a phrase I made up to kind of poke at corporate speak, but it actually says what I want it to say. I love figuring out how to implement something, understanding the context of the issue that my clients are having, and coming up with here's how we can solve this. And whether it's a visual thing or a functional thing or another, making the admin process simpler, something like that. I think, yeah, it's my expertise in understanding the context of the tech stack of today
This is what they
and
do
how
now.
people can, how best can I serve this client? It's what you don't get from AI. That's what.
Got you. So you get to know your clients, you get to hear them, understand them, and bring them the best solution for their business in web design so that people can actually
Right.
hear their voices.
Right. And well, keep their website functioning. Very often it's like,
Right.
it's not a glamorous thing, but the website has to function. I can take care of that part for you. But yeah, like there's not just one framework to use, and I've seen a lot of different technologies sprout up over the years. So we're talking about my expertise in being and seeing stuff change over the years and seeing what's available now that wasn't before. And, what do people need help with now that they didn't need help with before because that thing didn't exist yet? What are they able to do now until they reach a wall where they need help, which might be different?
I think that in
So
itself.
my evaluative skills, I think.
Okay. As you were speaking and you were saying how it's evolved and how you change and you help people, it's the thing that you did for yourself.
Right. Right. Of course.
It is. I was like, as I was listening, I was getting excited. I really wanted to bounce around in my seat a bit because I was like, what you're doing. And that's what anyone says that we're always, that's what a lot of professionals says, we're always our first clients. So you created in your business what you did for yourself.
Right. Right. That's
You're like, damn, she said that.
okay.
You look like, damn, she.
I'm going to have to think about that for a while, I think.
Yeah, because you did, that thing that you wanted to create, and you did it step by step by doing the triathlons, by doing this, by
Right.
putting yourself out there. You did it by speaking up and owning who you were in those rooms, especially once your business partner retired and then they were looking for other people to speak to. You did all of these things. So you're creating or have created. I get when I see connections and I just like am drawn to them. So you created that. You created that for the world to see through your company. I love
Yeah.
that. Look, I love that. You don't see it yet, but I know because we talk about once a month or so, and
Right.
you'll be like, Samantha, I think you hit the nail on the head. And but I love that for you. And did you have any hard seasons when you were just feeling like you were surviving instead of thriving
Oh, yeah. All the time.
all the
All
time?
the time. It's, when you go from employee to self-employed, you are trading stability of a known monthly income to variability. And so at first, I was doing a lot of one-off projects like design and develop a new website, and then it would be done. My client would move on. I would need another project, right? And so, depending on when those projects came, I might have what felt like enough, or I might be struggling a little bit, So eventually, we started also adding in the maintenance contract so people could sign up for a certain number of hours per month. We were on call. There's a minimum that gets done whether we're asked to or not, but then there's that little bit of stability that comes back because there's a monthly amount that people are paying for my hours and expertise. And so the more of that work that we took on. And this, I'm saying we because this was a development that happened when I had a business partner, and we decided to go after more of the maintenance contracts because a lot of our colleagues were saying we only want to do the big fancy design. And we're like, well, we'll help them later, you know.
Right.
And so that became more stable because people were signing up for a monthly thing. And then also a lot of those clients had a lot of stuff that they needed to get done every month. They're building out new features and new layouts and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it became more stable when we shifted the nature of our bread and butter work.
Okay.
And then starting over with a new brand and everything, it became unstable again. And now, you know, post pandemic, the industrial world is changing, and the website technology is changing, and what people are asking for is changing. And so I'm constantly reevaluating, what do I need to offer that can meet this change? And then there is a period of instability because clients come and go sometimes, you know, and that's just the nature of business. And also, I have worked with a lot of startups, and that happens with startups is they get bought. And then you are on borrowed time before they go in house. And that's just the nature of the cycle. So what was the question?
Well, you answered.
Hard times. Yeah.
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 Hard times,
So there's waves of periods of instability, and it's hard when you feel like you're struggling, but you still need to
Show up.
present
Yes.
and show up as a hireable entity.
And you are, and you have. What would you tell? I know one of the questions that I asked when I send out my questionnaire about being on the podcast was, what would you want women to know when you said that they're not alone? Why is that? What is it? Why would you want women to know they're not alone in the tech world? Because I know you said it was more women in the beginning than we actually realized. So why do you want them to know that?
Well, for our community
Hmm.
to know that they're not swimming upstream, and that they have a network of colleagues with lots of different avenues of experience to call upon, to have these networking communities where we can help and support each other, work together, hire each other,
Yes.
refer work to each other, and just have business friends who know what you're going through. And when you're self employed, it really feels like you're hanging out there on that shingle, like you're the sign, you know?
Yes. Yes, it does. I mean,
But there's a community of us.
correct.
We're all here.
We're all here to support each other. And like you said, it is when you're, especially in areas of expertise where you're a woman and you're alone and you're surrounded by men or only a few, it's lone. To me, it could be lonelier depending on how you show up, how you present yourself. How are you looking for them to support you? Are you standing tall in it? Are you allowing yourself to be seen? So, having in my line of expertise and work and helping women in male dominated industries, which I've noticed through conversation, is that women knowing that it's community, women knowing that there are people out here. We support each other by just being able to say it out loud, because holding it in gets you to a place where you're afraid to speak because you don't want anyone to judge you by you say out loud. So you'd rather hold it than be judged. So being able to speak it, and like you said, you want women to know they're not alone. That is the key in this. Like, hey, we're here together, we're showing up. Be it a business owner, be it in tech, in being a firefighter, being whomever, being in structural maintenance, like for myself, it's a win when I see other women coming in. Not so much because now we're taking over, which we could if we tried, but if we wanted to, not if we tried, if we wanted to, we could, but because it shows unity. And when you're alone on a branch and just sitting there looking around, it seems like everyone is picking at you, picking, trying to see. And we believe that. We start to really digest that as our truth when we really alienated ourselves. So you saying that out loud, like you're not alone, that is a win. I love that you talk community. And if it was one thing I could do and change for every woman, is to know, even though we're not in the same industry or walking the same path, you're never alone. We're always here together. So thank you for saying that. And look, we're almost at time. It seems like and when I get into these great conversations, we're almost at time. But I want to
Yeah.
ask you, of course, my signature question. What does it mean to you to be rooted in your confidence?
Well, to me, that means that I am approaching the table from the place of being in the center of my value.
Mm,
I'm not questioning my own expertise.
excellent. I love that. That is a win in itself. Well, Julia, thank you so much for sharing your journey and reminding us all that we don't have to walk this path alone. Her story, Julia's story, is proof that confidence isn't just about showing up once. It's about staying rooted in it, especially when expectations around you say otherwise. Ladies, if Julia spoke to you, don't make it don't don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with another woman who needs to be reminded that she's not alone in her journey. If you haven't already, please like, follow, share Rooted in Your Confidence podcast. Julia, before I go, tell everyone about you, where they can reach you, if they want to say hello, if they want some of your expertise in developing all the things you said that you can see when you talk to them. How can they reach you and see you?
Well, my professional website is thewebatrium.com. And I have a YouTube channel, which is at the Web Atrium, or it might be at Web Atrium. I don't remember if I put the on there, but you can find that. I'm on Alignable and LinkedIn as both my business name and Julia Vanderwick. And yeah, I'd love to connect and start a conversation.
Awesome sauce. Thank you for sharing. All her information will be in the show notes. If it's the atrium or not, it will be there. I promise you that. Until next time, remember, this is your voice, your confidence, and your power. Stay rooted.